Hello, I'm Harriet Berkal, and I represent the Manitoba Dystonia Association of Manitoba. And so we're here today with a special guest, Marvie Gordon, who's going to speak to us about her type of dystonia. Good afternoon, Marvie. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks, Harry.
So what type of dystonia do you have, Marvie? Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay. I have what's called cervical dystonia or torticollis, so it affects my neck area. And it causes pulling to one side and spasms and also tremors in the mostly head area. So it can be very uncomfortable at times for sure and painful.
How long have you had this disease?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with this about, it's over 20 years ago now, and it continues to this day, and so I still have it at this point.
Can we talk about a little bit about the initial diagnosis? Was it right off the bat the doctor saw you and they immediately identified it as dystonia, or did it take several different specialists to see you?
Actually, I was quite fortunate. As soon as I noticed having these symptoms, I went to see our family doctor, and he recognized right away what the symptoms were. So he referred me to a neurologist, and that neurologist then referred me to a specialist in this field, in movement disorder. So I really was very fortunate because it only took me about, I think, 6 months for a diagnosis. And I know many people take months and years even to be diagnosed. So I feel very fortunate for that.
Right. So can you ask you a question about the types of treatment that have been effective for you?
Okay. Well, initially I tried medication, and that really didn't work at all. The side effects were just too overwhelming. So then I tried Botox injections, and to start with, they were quite effective. They probably brought about improvement, probably 60 to 70% in the movement. But after a period of time, they became less effective, and I think that's what many people find, that after a while they aren't working as well as they did to start with. So I also tried another drug that came out later called Xeomin. Unfortunately for me, that really didn't seem to do anything at all. So at this point, I'm not actually doing anything for the condition.
So how long have you gone for what kind of length of period without any kind of treatment?
It's probably been a couple of years now that I really haven't been taking anything. I do have some medications that help with sedation if I want, to kind of just be more relaxed, but unfortunately what that does, it causes me to want to go to sleep, so
Right.
I can't be doing that all the time.
And do you have relief when you sleep?
I do. It's amazing with this condition that it totally stops when you're asleep, so there's no movement whatsoever. So that's one of the sort of puzzling things about dystonia, why that would be. And also when I'm really focused on something else, it certainly improves, but when I'm more focused on the actual disorder, on the movement, then it will tend to get worse. So
I find the same true with my dystonia. Well, what can you tell us about your remission? You did have a brief remission of cervical dystonia.
I did. That was a number of years ago now, I think back around 95. I ended up going into remission for about 5 years. And whether it's coincidental or not, at that time I was placed on it was like a mild form of birth control because I was starting to go through some of the initial stages of menopause. So during that period, it totally went away. It was just amazing, and I was, of course, very hopeful that it was going to continue. But then at the 5-year mark, they had to start taking me off of the medication. So then gradually the symptoms came back, unfortunately.
Was there ever any consideration to go back onto the estrogen?
I don't think they were able to do that just based on my age and possible side effects with doing that, some of the risk factors with that. So no, I haven't been back on it.
So possibly there's a hormonal connection with this disease. I also wanted to ask you about the illness. How does it affect you day to day?
Day to day. Well, I mean, it's uncomfortable, and it's also very embarrassing. I find that it's sort of awkward sometimes being out in social situations, and I notice people will be staring, or they will sort of misinterpret my head movement as that I'm saying no to them, or I'm not agreeing with them, and that's not the case at all. So that can be really frustrating, and then at times it can get to be very sore too. Because with the spasms, if they're quite severe, it would be like having your fist clenched over and over, for a long period of time, and then that muscle gets really sore.
So if you had to see one improvement in the area of dystonia research, what would you like to see?
Boy, I think just if they could find a treatment that would help relieve some of these symptoms. I know that they're not able to find a cure right now, or they haven't found, but I'm very hopeful that there will be, or at least they'll find a more effective treatment in the not too distant future, we're hoping.
Thank you, Marvie. We appreciate you coming down today. This will help create awareness of this disease. Thanks very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.